What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Hillbilly Elegy review and breakdown. Much has been made of this movie for being the worst of the year, which is far from being the truth, at least in my eyes. In a year where Mulan, The Witches, and even Chemistry Quarantine Zone Rebecca were released, Hillbilly Elegy is hardly the worst movie out of this sad sack of movies. Even its most similar comparison, and shares one member of the cast, Devil All the Time, well, that was a self-indulgent snooze fest, and not even a charismatic Robert Pattinson performance could save that really just boring movie. The criticisms stem from the way that it lacks an edge or is missing the social criticisms from the memoir. Now, I can't comment on the latter as I hadn't read the book or honestly never heard of it up until now, and really a lot of the stuff may be missed on me due to a cultural differences, as in the UK, Bev would have been put on a National Health Service rehab program, so forgive me for being confused at her being turfed out of a hospital. It seems, and well, again, forgive me for saying this, but the liberal media are simultaneously angry at and rude to Southern Republican voters, yet here also angry for the movie portraying Southern people as they are when it's actually a memoir, and the sort of hatred towards the Rust Belt for voting Trump when, yes, it is a bit weird that they voted Trump, but really, can you blame them when nothing really improved in their station under Obama, and they look towards the snake oil salesman of Trump? The pulling yourselves up by your bootstraps and such is used heavily throughout the movie, to good and bad. But well, I enjoyed the movie as a personal story of addiction and a man torn between his family obligations and his self-serving preservation. We open with a young boy named JD, the movie's protagonist and the author of the memoir, heading to a lake as a child to swim only to be beaten up by bullies. We learn he is in Kentucky in 1997 for a family reunion and is warm at the sight of his family saving him and coming home. We have the ideal life as a warm family reunion, but it is simply a facade, as we learn that the Mormor, played by Glenn Close, and sorry for the pronunciation there, she escaped Kentucky to live in Ohio after becoming pregnant. She was attempting to escape the cyclical violence and dead-end nature of her local town, but it's unavoidable, as she would beat up her drunken husband in front of Bev, causing her trauma and then passing it on to JD. This is the true story, not a critique on the welfare state, but really trauma caused by the Rust Belt life. I am hard left, but even I can see the mocking of Trump voters just makes them vote for Republicans even more. The jumping through time periods is one of the worst parts of the movie in my opinion, and while it works when it jumps to 14 years to the future, throughout the movie we flip back and forth to different time periods to make the point that they are in that moment in the movie. JD is now at Yale Law School but struggling to pay for it, so we know that he did good, but it's not that good as his heritage blocks him from paying for school, and he also needs to socialise with the upper crust to actually get a job at a law firm. And it doesn't work as he kind of feels burdened by his hillbilly nature and redneck, which he really hates that term. And he tries to get a summer associate job, but it feels incredibly like it's not going to happen. He has a girlfriend, and while he's at Yale Law School, his past comes to bite him, as while he's trying to hobnob with the elites, he learns his mother is in hospital after a drug overdose. But instantly conflicted, he drops his new life for a moment to go back and, well, helping show that you can never really escape the past. But we flash back to Easter in the past as they make Easter eggs and such, and here the movie kind of goes off the rails a bit. Now, while Amy Adams' performance I thought was pretty good, to great points it did dip below into just serviceable, but the material she has is so incredibly inconsistent, as we see her go from a caring mother to full-on abusive mother far too fast for the audience to really understand the nuance here. She has a boyfriend and he comes home with a dog, but she is disgusting to JD. And the next scene, she's nice to him and she takes him to a shop to buy sports cars. However, the very next scene, we see her abuse him as it displays her insecurity of, while being smart in school, sort of like JD, well, she didn't do well and she had to kind of drop out to look after her kids, as this theme is explored via JD as he escapes the cycle in the end. He escapes like his mother did, but does well, unlike her. The aftermath of this comes back later, as Mormor stands up to her daughter after enabling her all her life. But it would have been better to see this intertwined with the story, and at points we see her almost stand up, and at one point we do, right at the end. But it doesn't feel like she has kind of had JD's interest at heart. She just tried to make an easy life for herself. Now, we had hints that he was interested in the wider world, as he wanted to watch Meet the Press and was interested in the Monica Lewinsky story. It seems odd that a young boy would be interested in that, but I myself remember growing up in the 90s and being very, very interested in that. But in the present day, he arrives home and his mother is just a horrible woman, as we see a flashback of him having the chance to get her help as she hits him and beats him, and these flashbacks are so split out, it just feels like we're going back and forth, and it is a bit jarring and it is tough for us to get invested in each scene, only for it to flash back to a different time period. We learn she got addicted to painkillers at the hospital she worked at, and this is, in my opinion, the real crime of the movie, ignoring this opioid addiction crisis. It is a blight in America as people become addicted to prescription painkillers, and even seemingly non-addicts are overdosing, and this silent crisis has been linked to Prince dying, Michael Jackson, and even the late rapper Lil Peep. Exploring that would have made this a true Oscar-worthy movie. I'm not saying it could be an Erin Brockovich, but with JD, but all I'm saying is just investigate this just a bit more. But the thing is that she got high and skated around the hospital, making Amy Adams' Bev seem even more ludicrous and a bit of a bad portrayal of the addiction, and it didn't really work there. All the while, the muted grandfather dies, and, well, Bev loses it. JD is with his grandmother while his mother slashes her wrists, and his grandmother also makes an odd Terminator reference, mentioning that there are just 3 different types of Terminators and that there are neutral Terminators. And while people have been lambasting this, I see it as someone who doesn't really understand the source material, so doesn't understand the lore of Terminators, and I'll forgive her for not understanding that, for understanding that Terminators were actually reprogrammed, although she's seen it about 100 times. Yeah, it's getting a bit difficult for me to defend that. The enabling of Bev continues as she begs for her son's urine to pass the drug board, as she's just currently remarried, but it's not going well. This is interspersed with her being in rehab in the past and the present, as her son has to spread rehab across like almost 10 different credit cards. That is just absolutely ridiculous. She runs out as JD finally opens about his life to her, and in the past, like I said, we learn that she got remarried, but she was doing all of this just to keep her son provided for by using men to fund her family. And she moves in with a man who sells weed, and, well, that's not really a good idea when you're an addict or a potential coming to be addict. And it just felt very weird that she just marries this guy and he's just got like movie posters around. It just felt very, very odd. And it leads JD to go with his stepbrother, and he starts getting involved with crime and has a potential life of living as a complete and utter burnout. He's almost arrested as his new burnout mates smash up a workplace for the grandmother to finally do things and stand up to take the grandson away. JD learns of the hardship that she gained by taking him on, and only realizes that when she's dirt poor, because, well, she's now providing for him as well, that he tries to apply himself and goes on the path to the military to pay for college and serves in Iraq. Now, I feel a bit uneasy that they go down this line, presenting the idea of internment in the military is a good idea. I don't know if trading service for college payment is a good idea. But yeah, it would have been nice if they kind of explored that just a tad more. And as I watch the whole movie, I can really understand where people were coming from when it comes to saying that they don't explore the welfare state. But this is really at the heart a family movie, a story about family and what you need to do to make it work or not work. I felt the final third was rushed as his mum is again using, and he suddenly decides to go back to his job interview and bags it, despite making a terrible impression on the interviewer earlier in the movie. But we have a happy ending without exploring any of the themes the movie sets up. But to be honest, it is, like I said, a family movie, and it's decent enough. Not a great movie, but far from the worst movie of the year. Glenn Close steals the show, and Amy Adams would have been better if the writing and portrayal of her character didn't make her look absolutely silly or nutty. But that is it. Let me know what you think down below. Please do drop a comment down below with your opinions. Please do like and do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.